Hey everybody, well this is the parts review for the Airbus A340-600 by Supreme Hobbies. This is the entire layout from the box. I've opened the box, we went over the unboxing before, so let me get right to it. Inside the box you're going to find all of these parts plus instructions. My buddy down in the Big D, Mr. Kale, he likes to call them the restructions, so I'm going to go with restructions in this case. They're laid out pretty well here. This is the instruction booklet for both the Airbus 330 and also the 340. It's sort of a dual instruction book, or restructions if you will. And the reason for that is there are so many similarities between the Supreme Hobbies version of the Airbus 330, a twin-engine wide-body, and the Airbus 340, which is a 4-engine wide body. In this case, I've got the 4-engine version, and this is the Airbus 340. Let me start with this part right here. We'll review this real quickly. This is your vertical fin and rudder assembly. It comes equipped with a flush-mounted servo already installed and ready to go. All you do is install the push rod and control horn, get your adjustments right, and you should be ready to fly. This looks like it's in real excellent condition, if you will, and one minor damage point is the scrunch. And you'll find that there will be scrunch to a number of kits that you might buy, this being one of them. They package these very well, however, they are always subject to scrunch, especially on the very fine tips of small foam parts, and this is relatively small. All right, with that in mind, let's go to the horizontal stabilizer. We'll take a look at that, and you'll find some scrunch again, right on the very tip, but it's minor, and if I was to turn it around, you can kind of see it there. It can be fixed. What I'll probably wind up doing to fix that, by the way, is I'll probably take some foam filler, some of that foam tack stuff, or even some lightweight spackle that you can get right there from the Home Depot or Lowe's. In any case, the scrunch is noticeable on this particular flight control surface, and this is the horizontal stabilizer. A secondary flight control, if you will, this being your primary, and that's your elevator. Again, flush mounted servo. Control horn is not yet installed, but you can see a slot for alignment and also for additional glue tack. With that in mind, let's move on. The next part that I'm going to go over is the speed controller panel that works as a ventilation device. This panel goes on the underbelly of the airplane, and I'll show you later where the speed controllers are located. But one thing I noticed here is that the exhaust ports are very clear. However, if you take a look, the inlet ports are either partially blocked or, in this case, completely blocked by casting flash, if you will, or foam that did not get removed in the process of the forming. So I'm going to actually take and open those up, and I'll do one of them right now so you can see it. I'm going to do this one on the right, and as you see, I can just pick it away with a toothpick. You get the idea. The same thing here. I'm just going to take and poke a hole, and it looks like if I was to come in from this side, I can see the dimple. I'm going to have to really work with a knife to clear that out. A minor defect, but nothing that's going to cause you problems unless you don't open it up. And then you're not going to get adequate venting in your ESC compartment or speed controller compartment, and that's where all the heat is generated on the way to the motors. And in that case, remember, this thing's made of foam. Heat and foam don't work well together. All right. Notice also that the lower beacon is installed and ready to go. All we do is hook it up, and you can see it's even got a tag so you know that it's the red beacon. All right, it just plugs right into the lighting controller, and we'll talk about that during assembly in a later video. All right, this is the belly gear, also called the mid-main landing gear, or the belly buggy. And this is an optional item, so that's why it's not pre-installed. It's got 35mm dual wheels, and it's also an electric retract. You just simply plug it in. It's already got a marking for identifying that it's part of the landing gear, if you didn't figure that out by the wheels. And of course, if you didn't know that already, you're probably watching this video for the purposes of maybe learning English. All right, with that in mind, let's move on to the engines. Here's one of the engines. They're all four, very scale, and the cowling, or nacelle, if you will, is scale to the airplane. It's very accurate, amazingly so. You can even see the turbine line right here that's drawn that says basically this is a rotation area for the high-speed fan that could potentially come apart if something went in the engine in a full-scale airplane. All right, the pylon is well constructed of very, very good plastic. I don't know how strong it is, but I expect it's strong enough. Mount holes are already pre-drilled and ready to go. And of course, you can see the bullet connectors for the electric motor that's inside. One thing I like to do whenever I get a new aircraft, especially a jet, is reach in and make sure that the turbine, in this case the fan, looks concentric. It has equal spacing all around its perimeter or circumference, and that it rotates freely. If it doesn't, if it comes in contact, and you should take it through a full spin all the way around. I've already done this. You'll feel the poles as the magnets tend to resist your movement. Nevertheless, there you go. All right, I've already looked at all four of these, but let's just take a quick look at engine number X of 4. And these all look undamaged. The connectors look good. They all have shrink tubing around them, so they are ready to install. Here's another one. Again, I've looked at it. I've already spun through, made sure that each of these is ready to go. And this is how they come from the factory in the box. Everything is wrapped in plastic. So it's just absolutely incredible, the scale that these guys put into these, and I'm duly impressed. All right, they're all four there. Next, let's go right on to the empennage and tail cone. This is the aft fuselage, or empennage, if you will, the back end or rear end of the fuselage, and the tail cone area. This is where you'll install your horizontal stabilizer, and you've got two separate sides that install. They've each got their own independent elevator servo, as you already saw, and the vertical fin installs right here. All right, this is in great shape, and of course, here's the connectors for not only the rudder and the elevators, but also for the tail light, which is installed right here. Yes, airplanes have tail lights. They're absolutely required, and so are they for RC airplanes flying after sunset. So if you go beyond a specific period of time, the federal regulations under Title 14 of Part 91 of the Federal Aviation Regulations require that you have lighted position lights between sunset and sunrise. And that applies to all operations, not just flying. Taxiing included, or what they call movement. And if you're operating in a movement area of an airport, you're required to have your position lights on and visible. All right, next. This is, again, just an unwrap, but this is the aft extension plug for the fuselage. This airplane is designed to be able to be built as an Airbus A340-600 series, which is shorter, or an Airbus A340-600 series, which is the lengthened version of the same airplane. All right, so this is the aft plug that is inserted behind the wing, and here is the main fuselage. Note that this has a pretty sizable hatch right here. It's held closed with some temporary tape, but if you look in here, there's electronics, and you can even see the lighting controller in there. So there you are. It's connected, pre-connected at the factory with the upper rotating beacon, or what they call the anti-collision light. And that's a red beacon. It does nothing more than flash red. All right, closing that up, let's just take a look at the overall condition of the fuselage here, and you can see that just a couple of minor foam dings there. Looks real nice up here, and turning it over carefully so as not to drop it, there is a noticeable ding right here in the fuselage. Nothing major. A little bit of spackle from the Home Depot, and you're smoothed out just fine. All right, here's the wing root area of the fuselage and the wing attachment area right here. Again, an alignment recess that form fits the front of the wing so that you get proper alignment both horizontally and also the proper angle of incidence, the AOI. Nicknamed the AOI angle of installation. That just happens to be the angle that is created between the long axis of the airplane and the wing itself. All right, look at the ability to run cables or anything else you need to right through there. You could even run a cooling duct through here, or you could turn the fuselage itself into a cooling duct if you wanted. All right, here's the other side right here, and you can see right on in. All right. That completes that. Now normally I would put this somewhere else, but instead of setting it up like so, I recommend that you set it down in the direction it would wind up in anyway if it got tipped over. And then you don't wind up with the crush and crunch and dings and all that other stuff. All right, here's the next element. Again, straight out of the box, this is the forward fuselage plug for the 600 version. If you're going to go with the shorter version, you can just take these and put them on your mantle and use them as ornaments so that you can talk to all your friends when they come over and sit around the fireplace with you, and you get to tell them about your RC airplanes because it's raining outside. Or for a few of you, it's snowing outside. Doesn't snow very often here, but we do get snow. Of course, you are very familiar with the pointy end of the airplane. This is where all the driving gets done. You've got the flight deck or cockpit, depending on what your preference is. Forward entry door, again the galley door, and the attachment point. And again, this is a butt joint, but it has a recess, so it has a lot of glue area if you're going to glue. There are others, Brian Phillips being one of them. I highly recommend you take a look at his videos of the Airbus 330. He did a 600 version. He caught a little flack from some people who said, hey, there is not such a thing as a 330-600 series. But I'm on Brian's side. I'm saying, hey, if you can make the thing longer, make it longer. And the guy's an excellent flyer of RC airplanes. I'd call him an ace. He can stick a landing like nobody I've ever seen. All right, forward cargo door, a lot of accuracy. And of course, take a look here at the nose gear doors. This is the nose gear wheel well. And as you can see, there's a cutout so that when the gear is down, the doors follow up and close to fare better, and as a result, reduce drag, etc., etc. This looks really, really nice. A nice clean installation here on this side, but you can see where there's distortion on this side, and I'm going to probably have to go in and fix this. I took a look at it earlier, and I determined, in my humble opinion, with my near zero experience in RC, that this is probably due to excessive glue right here, and that caused this to bow inward, and they just basically cut out the shape and formed it, and I'm going to have to go in, take this out,
and let this recede back out, and it'll fare better. All right, other than that, I'd like to open it up and show you the nose gear, but I can't. So we'll do that in a future video. Until then, that's the flight deck and forward fuselage. All right, the wings, let's take a look at those. And I'm going to be real careful here. I recommend you lift straight up when you're handling these wings, just like most of these items. Don't pull them across something even if you think it's smooth, because sometimes you left a screwdriver sitting there and now you're going to put a big old mar in the upper surface of your wing. Well, let's just take a look overall condition here, and I'm saying overall, look at the detail. Great detail with the walkway. Those are decals that are applied from the factory. They've painted the whole upper wing. It looks really, really nice overall. I see some paint removed here. It looks like maybe it bubbled and it was wiped away, and it took all of the paint from the bubble. This is going to require a little bit of touch-up paint, but other than that, you got your wingtip lights here. Your left position light, again, there's no such thing as navigation lights on an airplane. And you can check that out under Title 14 of the federal regulations that guide installation of not only position lights, but anti-collision lights such as these strobes. This is the port side or left side of the airplane, and this is designed as a position light so that when a pilot is flying and sees this aircraft, if they see a left wingtip light or a red light, they know that that aircraft is to yield to them under right-of-way rules. That's the way these work. If you see a green light, you have right-of-way. If you see a red light, that aircraft is to yield to you, vice versa. Either way, whatever I was saying, green light, you're supposed to be good to go. Red light means that you yield to that aircraft, I should say. There we go. All right, anyway, let's see, ailerons. You can see the aileron installation is clean, and the Fowler flaps. These are single slotted Fowler flaps, and they're really, really nice. I just think they're just high quality. And you can see that they've done some trimming manually, and you might want to come in with some putty or some filler and maybe make them a little nicer. You could probably close these gaps a little bit and really get some drag reduction out of that. The same thing here. Look at this tremendous gap. It's not necessary to have that gap. There's no reason for the air to spill like that. So you've already got it spilling, if you will, flowing through the slot. And that's the whole purpose, is to allow these to fly as small wings attached to the main wing. All right, underneath, the scale canoes look really, really nice, and these have no functional purpose on the RC airplane. These are, in fact, though, flap drive housings or fairings, and their purpose is to reduce drag for aircraft like this that fly in the transonic region between 3/4 of the speed of sound and 1 1/4 times the speed of sound. And no airliners in today's modern age operate above the speed of sound intentionally. They would be diving in a crash if they exceed the speed of sound or headed to the point of impact. But in this case, these are your typical drive housings, and their purpose is, if you reference the Whitcomb area rule, these are designed to prevent local sonic flow over the drive mechanisms, and if they weren't covered up with these fairings, the transition would cause local sonic flow, and that would cause minor shock waves that create tremendous drag when you get up there near the speed of sound. So the airplane might be doing 0.8 Mach, but somewhere locally it could be generating velocities along the form of the airplane that reach Mach 1. And if you get to Mach 1.0, you're going to get a shock wave, no doubt about it. And the greater the flow, the bigger the shock wave. All right, let's come on over here. The retracts are very well installed. They're flush, just like these servos. They're all flush except the outboard. It looks like the outboard is just a little high. Fortunately, the leading edge of it isn't real high, so I'm going to leave it just the way it is. You come over here, these are true. I mean, they're just flush as can be, and no drag whatsoever from the form of those. The main landing gear doors, they look like they're in great shape. I'm going to show you this right here. It looks like this is actually bent, like it's deformed. That's not the case. What happens is when they ship these, they have to basically flush all of the servo mechanisms and their arms. So what's happened here is the drive mechanism has tucked that in a little bit. I've pushed it, and now you can see it's more true to form. All right, no damage here whatsoever. Might require a little minor adjustment in the linkages, but there's nothing wrong with that. And of course, the wiring harness and your main battery connection right here. This uses a 3S battery. That's 3 cells connected in series. So worth noting is that you can run this airplane on 3S battery or a 4S battery. The engines will produce a lot more power and a lot more speed, if you will, generating more thrust if you use a 4S battery. In fact, the Airbus 330 version of this, the twin engine, calls for 4S power, 14.8 volts, versus this one, which is using 11.1 volts, or 3S power. Your batteries, a quick review, 4S is 4 cells connected in series. You've got 3S, 2S, and then there is no such thing as 1S. That's called single cell, because the S stands for series, and that means that you've got more than one cell that you've connected in series to double the voltage. All right, with that in mind, looks like we're good on that wing right there. I'm going to take a look at the condition of this wing, lifting straight up again, and we'll just get a real good idea of any paint or other cosmetic damage. I really don't see any. I'm going to turn it around, take a look at the flaps again, and make sure they operate freely. It looks like we could actually get a little more extension out of this. And there is a video online that you can look at. It's an Airbus 330, but Brian Phillips does a real good job of showing you how you can get a little less resistance to the movement on your outboard flap segment there. All right, the same thing here. Aileron looks great. And this wing tip right here with winglet, it's perfectly sound. So I think what happened was the other wing might have been dinged or it might have been placed in a position that didn't have enough room for it in the box. And so it was probably damaged going into the box. It's always possible it could have been jarred and damaged in transit. Either way, here's your green or starboard position light along with the white strobe light, and those are pre-wired, ready to go. Anytime you turn the position lights on, you get navigation lights, for those of you that like to call them that. Again, I call them position lights. You also get anti-collision lights, and that's 2 forms. You get the white strobes and the red beacons, both. All right, one thing I noted here is this panel that hides the wires, there's a wiring channel underneath it. It looks like it was glued down fairly well, except for on the ends. And let me show you right here what it looks like. You can see how that would potentially create a substantial amount of drag. And of course, the higher your speed, the higher the drag. So there's some glue on it, it's just not sticking. All right, if you ever have to get in there and remove these ESC cables, you can dig this thing up, but I think the easiest way is to just take these 3 as one wire, if you will. Just treat them as one wire and just lift upward, and there's a good chance you're just going to bring this right on out. If you ever break it, you can mend it. I wouldn't worry about it. So right now, I think that does it for the wings. All right, lastly, I'm going to point out to you that I made an equipment list, and I'll let you shoot that with the camera. But this equipment list itemizes every single component here that you've seen so far, plus the accessories bag. You get a tube of glue, you get the wing spar or wing stiffener tube, and of course your control horns are inside there. You also have the power splitter that takes one signal for throttle and sends it to 4 speed controllers. Additional wiring harnesses right here, and as I go through the build, we'll talk a little more about the wiring harnesses. All right, other than that, I weighed everything using this handy little food scale, and you'll find that this will come in nice and handy if you're building scratch airplanes for sure. These kit airplanes have already been engineered so that the balance point will be pretty close to normal or the desired location. Anyway, I used the food scale to weigh every single component, and I love this food scale. We used this in Corpus Christi, Texas, when I broke the Guinness World Record for shrimp eating. All right, the total weights came to 2,104 grams without a battery. That's also without a receiver and one optional item which I will be flying this with, and that's the gyro stabilizer. So those 3 components are not itemized here. And of course, if you leave out the 35 grams of weight, you can reduce your all-up weight by 35 grams. But that would require leaving the belly buggy on the ground. All right, worth noting, by the way, is that the Airbus 340 and the DC-1030 series, the high gross weight versions, actually can retract the belly buggy for operations like towing and such on the ground, and they don't have tire wear or scrubbing when they maneuver the airplane around on the airfield. All right, that completes the entire overall review of the parts. I do want to emphasize that not only are the instructions available, a number of online videos like this one, you also have a series of decals that are included with the instructions, and this allows you to make this an Airbus 340-600, or optionally, you can go down here to the point where you find the 300. Either way, whichever one you build, best of luck to you if you've decided to undertake this as a project. Here is a supplemental instruction panel that allows you to better understand the installation of the lighting and how the wiring diagram can coach you through troubleshooting and looking for any adjustments to the frequency of the beacons and the strobes flashing. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to send a message. Other than that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, this has been the parts review for the Supreme Hobbies Airbus A340-600. Get a haircut.